Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Drop the Beat podcast. My name is Charles Laurita.
And I'm Will Sarver.
And we want to thank you guys so much, as we do every single week that we're doing this damn thing, for not only watching and listening to us beat off, but also hopefully beating off along with us at home. I think that's incredibly important, and I'm loving that each and every one of you guys are doing that. Will, how you been? How's it been hanging?
I'm better now that I'm here and everybody's at home, beating off is really what we strive for here.
I love it. I love it so much that we're doing it. We got our tea with us. I got my Spider-Man, my big-ass Spider-Man mug. Like, it's a soup mug, and it's got a peppermint tea in it with wildflower honey. What do you got?
I got Haunted Mansion.
Well, you do, and that is my specialty mug.
I feel honored.
Just for you. No one uses this mug except me, so only my mouth and parts of my ass have been on it.
That's the taste I'm getting.
Good.
I thought it was the tea.
No, but anyway, give me a little.
Yeah. Let's give this a little test
clinky
here,
in there. Let's get
everybody appreciates the obnoxious.
I know. Hopefully, you guys get your tea ready. Let's see what we got. Here we go. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah, that definitely tastes like you.
Thanks, bud. Oh wow, we already
Ring
have a
the bell
this early in the show. That's fabulous. But Will, we're gonna do a new segment this week. I'm thinking.
I think we should.
I think
New year, new us.
New year, new us. This is our first show for 2021.
Tuesdays on Saturday, the 1st of January, 2022.
Thank God.
Oh my God.
That Siri cleared that up for us because I had no idea.
We didn't say when New Year's Eve is. She just.
Well,
Dude, this robot shit is creeping me out. They're
it's
always
listening.
Oh my God! So thank you. So thanks Siri for that. You asshole.
That was Wow,
Oh my
man,
God. So anyway,
so much clearer now.
I love it. First show of the new year, swimmingly wonderful start.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, so yeah, this is our first show of 2021, which I
we
think is great.
survived 2020.
We did. We all did. So if you guys are here listening with us today, that is a very good sign. So we're thankful to have you guys here listening as usual. But let's do a new segment. Let's throw something in there because you and I are into so much different stuff. This is actually William's idea over here, so I can't take any credit for it. But God damn it, I'll announce it.
Yeah.
Will,
You can take the credit. That's fine.
I'm not. I can't take the credit.
I need a pay raise.
But
so,
I can say, Will, what time is it right now? What time is it?
The time right now is is our.
It's time for the big beat of the week.
The big beat of the week. I'm getting this glare off of the board.
Oh, can you not see it?
It's the light. I'm getting the glare off the light.
Oh, no. So we have a big old whiteboard down here in the rat cave that we have all of our notes written. We're actually prepared when we do these things, and apparently with our new ring light, Will has a nice big glare. That's okay. But we got the big beat of the week that we've decided to do. And Will, what is the big beat of the week? What do we got this week?
Well, we were talking about it previously, and it I just had to go back to it, and it was the album. I think it was on our album podcast. We mentioned Daft Punk, and
We did, yes.
Random Access Memories. So that is the big beat of the week, is that album, because it's phenomenal.
So I was going to say, that's cool because that album came out at a time when it was, there were three really big hits on the radio that were kind of funk, and they were bringing it back. It was Get Lucky from that album.
Yep.
It was Blurred Lines by Robin Thicke, and Pharrell was on that track. And then it was also Uptown Funk. That was the year that all three of those came out, and it was all these dance tracks with horns and everything.
Great.
Dude, phenomenal. But that album is such a big deal because, I mean, Daft Punk was always very popular, but that really brought them into the forefront with a lot of different listeners and musicians. I love Nile Rodgers from Chic. He's one of my absolute favorite guitarists.
He is the man.
And he on that album is just fantastic. But so why was this your big beat of the week? What was?
Well, it's it was nice to go back to that because it's been a while. I mean,
I was going to ask, when was the last time you listened to it?
I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, and just us talking about it, I mean, it's like I gotta listen to it again because it was so good, and I'm maybe it's nice and refreshing to go back to it, and also I kind of pick up some new things.
Definitely.
You have a different perspective when you listen.
That is such a detailed album in that regard, and
it's one of the cleanest productions and of instrumentation you could get.
I was gonna say Daft Punk just as a whole. Those dudes are they're geniuses. They're absolutely fantastic. I was so happy that you picked this for this week for our new segment of the new year. That album does mean a whole lot to me. That was on rotation for a very long time.
Oh yeah,
for me. Just because it was, and a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just stupid. It's this funk with the robot voices. I'm like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know what people are talking about.
It's such a nice combination of having real instrumentation and arranging with all great players on it, but adding that electronic and Daft Punk's element to it. It's tastefully done.
That's the phrase right there. It's tastefully done because it's funk, but it's done like them.
Yeah.
It's too damn good.
Favorite track on the album?
Oh boy. Oh. That's a really, really tough question. You know why it's a tough question? Because this is what we talk about with albums, and this is weird because I never thought about this. I never listened to individual tracks from that. When I listened to that album, I listened to it as a whole.
Yeah.
I literally just put the damn thing on. There's some of the tracks I don't even know what the titles are. Because I never see.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Because I literally put that on and I listen to it in its entirety. I never go around and pick tracks. I feel like how everything kind of flows into each other. It's really it works so well.
That's why it won Album of the Year.
It did win Album of the Year, and it
cleaned up,
rightfully goddamn so.
Yeah.
The only reason that one was because Stevie Wonder didn't put out an album that year. That's how the rule. That's how the rule always goes.
That's true.
That was Paul Simon always would come on stage and he was like, when he would win like an album of the year and be like, I'd like to thank Stevie Wonder for not writing an album this year. And I think that's so funny.
That's amazing.
But that was a very, very good choice for the very first big beat of the week.
Yeah,
I loved it. That's a great album. So if you guys at home have not listened to Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, I highly, highly recommend it. Put it on, sit down, listen to it in one sitting.
Do it.
Fantastic. Will and I can talk about this album for a very, very long time. It's just such a throwback, but it's not. It's a very new school kind of take on it. Obviously, we have a very sweet spot in our hearts for funk.
We do.
I have a ton of Daft Punk records because they're awesome.
I love all their stuff. I mean, it's great.
Good choice.
And if you can't listen to the whole album in a whole, I would at least check out Fragments of Time's probably one of my favorites.
That's a really heavy track.
That's a nice blend of everything in there.
Mm-hmm.
You have the funk, little bit of electronics that they add to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's if you listen closely, there's a really, really cool slide guitar part in the background.
There is. And the first time I listened to it, I didn't know that's what that was.
That's what we're tastefully done.
Yeah.
And that adds so much, but you don't really realize once you hear it though.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Well, that's how you know it's done tastefully, because one of those things where it's like it's there but you don't realize it because it just adds to it so much.
And I'm a sucker for slide, as you know.
I have a slide guitar fetish, as
so
we all
bad.
know.
So bad.
I've been known to slip and slide around the strings myself a couple times.
That sounds inappropriate.
Yeah. Well, look at me, damn it. I am
Look at your
inappropriate.
feet.
No, please. Oh, my big giant wolf slippers that I have today.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we're doing it big, baby.
And that says extra large on the bottom.
They're meant for big people.
So you have big feet?
I do have big feet.
Doesn't that mean something? Bigger socks.
Yeah, they are
That's
very
what I
big. Well, to
thought.
get over my wolf feet.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I don't know if you knew this, Will, but the whole reason I brought you here for this podcast today is because someone wrote in and we have a question for this week. All right, so our question for this week actually comes to us from Baltimore, Maryland.
I've heard of the place.
Have you?
I have.
I've been to the place.
You have?
That was, so I am, as we all know, I am a mac and cheese connoisseur.
That's a fact.
Or dinosaur. I don't know, a little both.
Both.
And obviously me being a tourist goes to the Baltimore Aquarium, and there was
great aquarium.
Really cool, it's God, so good. So many turtles. There's a really cool, I don't even remember the place, but I got a lobster mac and cheese near.
Oh, you fancy.
Not in the aquarium, because that would be stealing and tampering, but it was around the aquarium.
Poor lobster.
Yeah, it was very,
watching
very
you eat that.
I love Baltimore. It's a really cool place, really awesome music scene. And our question comes in from Buster Bolton writing in to from Baltimore, Maryland, who listens to the podcast. So thank you, Buster,
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
For listening and writing in. So we are going to be in contact with you, and we will be sending you a shirt.
Whoop, whoop.
Because we're just thankful that you wrote in.
Yes.
And hopefully you'll wear it.
Proudly.
Because if you're naked, now you're not. unless you want to be naked.
It's
then
important.
Yeah, I don't mind
Yeah.
you to have it. It'll be fun. It'll be cool to wear. It's a nice. It'll be great. But he had a very good question. Obviously, I'm thinking that Buster is in fact a musician, and in these crazy quarantining times, it's a very relevant question, and I like this. So the main gist of what he said was, can you make a real record at home without a full studio? And I like that. That is very, very awesome. So in his question, he was kind of saying, if you have limited capabilities of just like maybe one microphone,
Yeah.
or if you had to do part at home and part in a professional studio. And I thought this would be great because we can really dive into, well, what are the big differences between a pro studio versus a home studio? And, a lot of things like limited gear and limited space. Not everyone has a great space or a kind of great setup. So let's dive right into this,
Let's
guy.
do this.
Knuckle
This-
deep. We're going.
It's a great
kids.
question.
I
and
love this. I think this is very,
We
very
live
good.
for this.
We really
this
do.
topic.
Not only do we live for this topic, we live this topic.
That's very important.
So we're going to definitely give you guys listening some examples that we've actually done, because
Right here in this room.
right here in this room, this is literally what we do. So I think the first thing to talk about before we get into any kind of gear, or more so not just the gear, because as we've said before, the gear itself is not the important part. It's the person doing it.
Yeah.
Is the space. And you and I got into home recording for a very interesting reason, out of necessity. Without going into detail that's going to get people mad at us like last time when
Right.
we discussed this on
It's
a
a
podcast.
legal matter now.
It possibly could be. William and I were recording, or we had recorded at another studio. I guess you would call it would be considered a professional studio.
Yes.
In a matter of words, we're really watching ourselves.
I need sunglasses.
We spent a lot of time and money. It didn't go the way we wanted it to go. Yada, 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 yada. We had to finish the record ourselves. At our own discretion. It was our
Yeah.
choice to pull out. It was our own choice to... Thank you. We
That
needed the bell.
deserved
That was
that.
good.
Proud of you.
But it was our choice to kind of leave that studio setting and do it ourselves. And we started from scratch with literally nothing.
Nada.
Zip.
Blank walls.
Zilch. I thought you say shooting blanks, but because that kind of goes with that. So let's talk about when we originally started this. From us literally knowing not very much. Like, I went to school for a lot of studio stuff, but it's different from when you're in a classroom working with things versus when now you have to do it because you're crowdfunding an album out of necessity because we had no money left.
Right.
And we have a product to get out at a date.
Yeah. No, that's important to mention.
Balls in
'cause-
your court there, William.
Yeah, because we both had experience and education in the
did.
topic, but those were probably that's more a professional setting with
Yeah.
education side of it.
Your hand is being held.
right, where when you're on your own, sink or swim,
Yeah.
type of deal. So yeah, I mean, we came in with some experience, but I don't know how much of that was relevant, to be honest. So we're kind of starting from the ground up.
Of course. And I mean, I think the big thing too, not a lot of people realize, is you can read every book you want about it. You can read every manual, watch every video. You learn the most by actually doing it. That is how you
Get your hands
always
dirty.
learn.
Yeah. So, I mean, our process was really, I guess, what did we need to be able to pull off finishing an entire album at home?
Yeah, because we had all of these tracks recorded with whatever EQ, reverb effects on them, and we stripped everything and started from scratch. Some stuff we had to re-record. We had
Delete that.
Yeah, we had we had to Father Ulrich a lot of stuff. We had to just do EQs to clean up bad recordings. But what did we? Let's talk about the room that we were in first off, because a lot of people think you have to have a very nice room. And just to clarify, the rat cave that we're in here,
It's a cave.
it literally is. It's a renovated part of a basement that looks pretty on camera. We have here, I mean, This is fake wood paneling. It's brand new paneling to make it look like old wood. The ceiling is completely open because we have lights and storage. We have carpet down on the floor, which is nice, but that's really our only sound buffer. Everything else is a reflective surface. We have glass,
Right.
we have hard materials, the sound can be bouncing, but we still get good sound, and that was kind of what we had at your place when we were recording. It was
It was a smaller room that had carpet just like this, drywall, low ceiling, and a window
the
and
most
a couple
ginormous
doors.
refrigerator that made lots of noise.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, we had a ceiling fan that ran because, the house didn't have air conditioning.
It was warm in there, yeah.
So we had that running. The air conditioner was running. Neighbors are in really close proximity.
They always had music blasting.
So the odds are against you if you were to read a book.
1,000%.
And against what they would tell you. But we were able to manage with all of that, because you get creative, right? We had to. We had to get creative and crafty. But since it was new to us, we bought cheap. I mean, we bought $10 microphones.
Oh boy, did we.
Okay, we used that for the drums. I got a buy one get one. You remember the overheads?
The CADs, yeah, the little, yeah.
And somebody gave me a bass drum, kick drum mic, and then you had the Pepsi. We call it the Pepsi Can.
We bought that on eBay. I remember being there when we were having one of our famous problems. We had a mic we called the Pepsi Can Mic, and it's just a little studio mic, and we used it for everything.
Right.
It was literally, we used it for horns, we used it for vocals, we used it for some drum stuff. It was everything. We used it for. And that was a dirt cheap mic, didn't even have a brand name.
Yeah, it was a knockoff of something, but it was the workhorse,
And I still use it to this day.
Right.
Like a lot of recordings we do down here.
Yeah.
We even at one point, my girlfriend works for Apple. She was getting us egg crate foam that they were just throwing out that she could claim. We were making. We went to the dollar store and we were buying the foam, like science boards, the 2x2, and like 2-foot square ones, and we were gluing it down with like the glue and foam tack.
Right.
And we were making soundproofing panels for ourselves, and we were getting the $4 moving quilts.
Yeah.
The black moving quilts, and that we would hang those on mic stands, and that would to soundproof things, and it was just we had to be crafty, because I think the big thing is. The number one thing versus the pro studio and the home studio, I think a lot of it is just aesthetics. I've really come to learn that.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think if somebody, if you're really asking what the big difference between pro and home studio, the big ones, at least for me, in my opinion, is the room. Mm-hmm. These pro studios have unbelievable rooms in there. I mean, $1 million rooms that were designed by people 10 times smarter than me. And it's all science-based, architectural. Yeah. It's a huge acoustical engineers. Everything's involved.
But is it necessary?
Technology's come a long way.
Yeah.
And then the other big difference is they have the best gear. I mean, you got microphones in there that are $10,000 plus a piece.
Yeah.
Okay, between the drums,
I don't even think we have that for everything.
We probably don't even have $100 in microphones. So those are the big two differences. But I'll give it to you. Is that necessary? And you mentioned that.
I would 1,000% say no. You can do everything in a program nowadays. The program that we started recording on, because the studio we were at used the full version, we used the free version of Studio One. It was called Studio One Prime.
Love Studio One.
That's what we use now to this day. We've upgraded to the better version because they do multi-track recording, but when you can arm multiple tracks for recording, so for a drum kit you have to do that. But I had ways around that, which is I'm going to talk about. But this free version has all sorts of plugins. It has reverb, it has room size, it has EQing, it has everything. It has MIDI instruments, and it's completely free. We use that for years, the free one, for cleaning up stuff, recording stuff.
You can really do everything with that free version. To
You
be
can
honest.
make it sound like whatever size room you want. You can make it have any kind of space you want, any type of microphone you want to record
Yeah.
from. The big thing I always was saying too, when you have those $10,000 microphones, it's a clean signal. That's all you're getting. That's it. Maybe they're made to last longer. Maybe they're made because they have better warmth to them. Man, that Pepsi Can mic, I would still put that up against a multi-$1,000 mic because
Yeah.
if you have a clean signal, in post, you're putting reverb on it, you're EQing it,
You're changing
you're
it
changing
already.
it. You just need a clean signal, and if you can get that, it's really what's upstairs in your brain to help you get that sound you're looking for. I mean, think how much we get the nicest, cleanest sounding microphone and we make it sound like an old slapback microphone. How many recordings have we done that on?
A lot.
Yeah,
Most
we add
of
a
ours.
little dirt to it to make it.
Yeah.
Or I think of like the Black Keys, where it's like, well, they have really expensive equipment. They're making it sound like old, crappy equipment. Like
Exactly.
purposely.
That's a good point.
Stuff
Yeah.
like that. It can always be done. So I would say, by whichever powers we believe, we were blessed on this journey with know-how as opposed to gear, and I always think that's more important.
I
mean,
think that's everything.
yeah, like I can count on one hand how many times we've actually mic'd an amp, as opposed to just going directly into the interface.
I think we did one time. We
Yeah, I
tried
think it was just one. We brought the little guy sitting
Yeah.
up back there, little
Yeah.
Ibanez amp, or whatever that is. And I think if a lot of people are so afraid that their recordings won't be good or they can't make a good product with just one microphone. Now Buster had written in and he said what about if you just have a USB microphone? What can you do with that?
Everything.
Literally everything. And I'm so happy we got this question, and Buster, you had
Yeah.
written in, because we're going to let you in on a little journey here, if you will, about how we do our studio series videos.
Right.
We call it the Mischief Studio Series because everything you're hearing is done in this studio, but we're not all together when we do it. It's either because of scheduling and things like that, because we have 6, 7 people, sometimes 8.
It's hard to
playing.
coordinate.
It's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot. And we want to do, fun studio recording as opposed to a live setting recording thing. So, we're adding in rhythm tracks here, rhythm tracks there. Obviously all things that I couldn't play at the same time, like a ukulele track, a shaker track, a slide guitar track, whatever. We don't have that many people. I'm doing a lot of it. Will's doing a ton of the percussion, drum stuff you hear, and the engineering. That's the big part of it. So literally to kind of get a sense, obviously the drums are more microphones than that, but with the idea of just one microphone, whether it's a USB or not, usually when we're coming up with these songs, I'll be working on a horn arrangement or whatever, or the outline of it. Will come in. I'll pitch in the song. He'll come up with a cool drum part, which he usually does in 1 or 2 takes, and I hate him for that because he just doesn't like spending time with me.
No, I don't listen to him. He's lying.
I'm not lying
Sometimes it's the old blind squirrel theory.
at all. Wait, what's the blind squirrel theory?
Oh, a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while.
That's true.
That's me. It's my entire life.
Jesus God.
They all can't be one take.
That's true, but he does do very minimal takes. It's cool because we've been working so long together where we just kind of get our style and what we're trying to do.
That helps a lot.
It really does.
We spend too much
We
time
anticipate our playing. So normally what happens is he'll come down and I'll play bass with him to a drum track. He'll get a good drum track, whatever. We never use a metronome because you are the metronome, which I'm very, very thankful for that.
We could talk. We could have a topic on metronome.
Boy, can we. But then after that point of getting that drum track down, everything is done individually. No one is playing together for this recording. And there's a lot of studio settings where that does happen. We've done records like that where seldom the horns are all in the same room at the same time. Sometimes it doesn't happen. We'll have someone lay down the main run and then everyone plays to him to get all the hits and articulation. So it's literally, I'll do the bass track to you playing drums. I'll then delete that bass track. I'll do a better one. I'll clean it up. Then I'll do a guitar track. Or if we have a bassist, he'll come do a bass track too, whatever.
Right.
I'll do a rhythm track. I'll probably do another rhythm track because I like to double it. Then with that one single microphone that we'll use, we'll have a bari sax track. We'll have a clarinet track. We'll have a trumpet track. We'll have a tenor track. We'll have an alto track, or however many horns. And then with that same mic, doing each of those horn recordings individually, we'll do a percussion track. We'll do another percussion track. We'll do a tambourine. And now it builds and builds and builds because you're layering.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. So I never look at a mic, whether it's a good mic or a USB mic, as a hindrance, that's a doorway. That's a gateway. That is awesome. You can
That's all you
do
need.
a ton. So I never even told you how I used to record drums back in the day.
I'm guessing it's probably with one microphone.
It was with one
Yeah.
microphone. So what I used to do, there was a couple ways I would do. I would either have one mic and I would put it in the room somewhere and try to get everything together as the kit in its whole, but you
Yeah.
couldn't pan anything with that. So it was all just a mono track of whatever. What I used to do is I would put a metronome on with my headphones. I put my click track, and I would put the mic just in front of the kick drum, and that's all I would record.
Right.
And I would be like, I'm going to do my kick drum take, and I would just be my foot hitting, you know, I'd have my song charted out, and I'd have it going like poof, 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 and I would do it for the whole song that I needed. It's so ridiculous. And then I'd be like, we're doing the snare now, and I'd mic the snare up, and so I'd have the kick drum. Now I'm playing to the kick drum mic or the kick drum track on this metronome. So
Yeah.
poof, 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 and I had that, and then I would do it for the hi-hat, I would do it for my fills, I'd do it for the cymbals. It was a Frankenstein
But it worked.
equation, but it worked.
That's the key.
And that's why, you know, a lot of early things I would do for YouTube or for whichever, I didn't necessarily have a drum kit in because I had one microphone. That's all I had. So I would be doing just a lot of here, odds and ends percussion. Obviously, you can do drum loops, have come a very long way.
Yeah.
A lot of drum stuff in the early things I did were MIDI, and I would play MIDI tracks to a metronome, and I could quantize it if possible, and then set it back just a little so it was behind the beat, so it sounded more human. And then you EQ those and
Make it sound
reverb
pretty.
those. Yeah, you and I have done some MIDI stuff here and there with instruments, whether
Yeah.
it's been like
Oh,
a
yeah.
congas or a bongo or something like that. We've done that before quite a few times, but another kind of aspect of the compiling recording thing is what you and I were doing for a lot of the quarantine. We weren't in the same place,
No, we were not.
so that kind of goes with the idea of, well, what if you're doing like a file sharing type situation where it's you're playing at home, someone else is playing at home, or someone's recording in a studio,
Right.
and you now need to add to that, or someone needs to add to you. And how do you do that? We did it from home. We were doing it
Yeah.
through quarantine, and
It's actually probably more common now than it used to be. And I think going forward, it's probably going to be really the main way people are going to be doing recordings now and making albums, because just like people now are realizing you can work from home. You can record from home. And, you know, artists are now collaborating with other people across the globe making albums, because if you can get a solid track that sounds good, raw, send it over, and then you can take that track, upload it, and then you can do whatever you want with it. You can EQ it, reverb, whatever,
yeah,
compression, make it sound good.
make it sound like you're in the same place.
Exactly. It won't, you know, if you, like you said, if it's a clean signal, and, you know, if the room's pretty dead, you know, to a certain extent, I mean, that's all we do now. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to do now. And, you know, I mean, like I said, I think going forward, you're going to see a lot of it, because, you know, nobody wants to pay for the big studios now.
No, I mean, because technology came so far, you can do it all yourself at home. And I was gonna ask, you know, you with that, what is your kind of at home like prep that you do to get ready to record for if I'm sending you a track and you have to do percussion on top of this or whatever? Because when you were doing percussion, I mean, you were sending me a lot of tracks.
Yeah.
Like 8 or 9. Like it was.
You said a lot. You wanted a lot of percussion.
I did
so
want a lot of percussion. The two I can think of off the top of our head that we did not too long ago, we did the Smashing Pumpkins 1979. That was literally you and I doing it.
One microphone.
And that's why I wanted to pick that one. You did one microphone,
Yeah.
and you stitched everything together, and that was the best. Because I think people are so afraid to not have a lot of gear when they're working at home recording. But then you kind of have to realize, well, if it's just you playing everything, you're not playing everything at the same time.
No.
All layered. It's always going to be layered, and that's where the studio magic comes from. So I'm trying to think, what did you play in that? Because you had the cajon.
Yep.
You did tambourine.
You had a jam block.
You had a
I
jam
think.
block. You had a cowbell, maybe.
Yeah, I think
probably
shaker.
You did
Cabasa?
You had the cabasa. You had a couple different tracks of the cajon because you did the one with the sticks. You did, and then you did the regular one of you playing. You were doing the big blue Twizzler sticks.
Right,
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all done. Everything was done on one microphone in the same.
But let it
microphone.
be known on the record, Mr. Will Sarver is a crafty son of a bitch over here because to give me the amount of quality stuff that he did to send me these tracks, it was great. And it's all one person. He did it all separate. It was just kind of going back and layering it and layering it and layering it.
Right, and I mean, I guess it's a good example because, my full studio is not built yet that I want to do. So
that's a good point because you just moved into a new place,
right?
So it's like bare bones now.
Yeah. So like a lot of my stuff is still in cases or whatever. So I found a space in my house in one of the rooms, and I, took a music stand and raised it all the way up, made it look like a T, draped moving blankets over it to kind of like box me in a little bit. And I had an LED workshop light, that you can get at Home Depot as my lighting source.
That's right. You did have the workshop light.
Yeah, you told me slap a T-shirt over it. I did that, kind of soften it up.
Good diffuser. Yeah.
And I had a mixer, a Mackie mixer that my brother got it for me years ago. I mean, I was probably high school maybe. So 10 plus years ago, okay?
Yeah.
It's got 4 channels. It's old school. But it had enough for what I needed to do, and it was just a USB to the computer, one microphone, one cable, and I had to mix everything on that little mixer first because it's so old you can't do it through software anymore.
Yeah, you have to do it
right
analog and then pop it on.
And that's exactly how I did it. And
what mic did you use for those recordings? Was it an MXL guy?
No, it was actually the Sennheiser 421s, which
nice.
are great. That mic is very known to do everything really well.
Because I was going to say, for here when I'm doing horns or vocals, I'm either using the Pepsi Can mic or I'm using MXL.
Is it the 990?
The 990.
Yeah.
The 990 because I have 3 of those now, and that's like a $50, $60 mic.
Yeah.
Not expensive at all.
Right.
Which is great.
I think some of it was, well, the one track was the Sennheiser, but I think the other track I used the MXL, the ribbon mic that you got me.
That was from Santa.
Right.
Which is cool.
So, I mean, MXL, for anybody listening, makes great stuff, and the price point is amazing. I mean, ribbon mics are really expensive. This one's less than $100.
Yeah.
And it sounds amazing. And
I was gonna say, if anyone's looking for what good cheap mics sound like, those are fabulous. Also, in the studio series recordings that we do on YouTube, we're using those $10 microphones on my kit.
Yeah.
That's what we're using. Those are $10 mics. It's a clean signal. We EQ it. It sounds good.
That's
the brand's Pyle, Pyle. We found them because they made a knockoff of an SM57, which is a $90 to $100 mic.
Bucks, yeah.
But again, microphone technology has been around for 70 plus years at this point. In the current state, it is.
Yeah.
People can make it for cheap now,
right?
Which is great. Even my first mic I did a lot of drummer stuff. It was a USB mic. It was a Tascam.
Yeah, we used the Tascam.
We have used that guy, and it was a just a XLR to USB end that I had right into the laptop. It did Audacity was my program.
Yeah,
which also has really cool effects. And
I used
EQs
Audacity for years.
Oh my god, I still sometimes use it if I'm editing like MP3s or things like that for this very podcast. Sometimes I need to.
Yeah.
It's insane the amount that you can do with so little. That's why people are producing records in their bedroom nowadays.
Yeah. It's because it's very, very possible.
Yeah.
And I mean, you asked me about it, and the the prep work.
That's what I want to know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important
Mm-hmm.
thing out of this entire topic is the prep work, because if it doesn't sound good before you hit record, no matter what you do with the software, you're not going to make it sound any better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we talk about having a clean signal and tuning your instrument properly, whatever instrument it is, and, test it out. Do a couple takes and then listen back to it, and, take the microphone closer, farther away, really understand the instrument you're playing and try and get the best sound out of it, and then you can hit record. And that's what I do. When you send me stuff, if Buster's really looking for, the process, you send me a rough track.
Yep. So you're meticulous. I love that, though.
It's
details. Those little
you got to
details.
have, some sort of protocol in place. And I listened to that track way too many times by some people's standards, and I'll dissect it and I'll take it one track at a time. So Charles sends me the track, so that's basically my metronome. That's what I'm playing to. So that's why we can keep layering each take and it lines up. So I put the track in my software, which is Studio One, which we share the same software.
Yep.
And then I record each track. Then I get rid of his track that he sent me, and then I'll export all those files and I'll send them right back to Charles.
Yep.
And that way he can just go in Studio One or whatever software, and it'll all line up because I played to that track that he gave me, which is like the metronome, the click track. And it's a simple I could add a million layers.
That's the best part, is that you're recording. You start right from the beginning of the track, whatever it is. So I drop it and it lines right up. I don't have to do anything to it.
And then he can do whatever. I give it to him dry, which means no nothing. No.
He give it to me raw. Damn.
It's bells 3 times.
That 3 bells already? Oh my God, Buster! What
they're
going to
shut us
do
down
with this question? We're going to be screwed.
But yeah, and then you can do whatever you want with it, and that's a lot of if you're doing professional work or at home studio sending files back and forth. I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, a lot of them are just I just need a drum track. You send it to them, and they add whatever they want to fit into their album or whatever. So it's so doable right now.
And like we were saying, it's the before recording part is just as important as you actually playing it.
Oh yeah.
So like a great example, when we were doing
waiting for it,
that album that we did, which you guys should check out. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. Interstellar Fortune Teller was our first full-length album. So we had our EP, and then this was our big album after that. I'm so happy with how that album turned out and how we were able to finish it.
Can't believe
Lots of horrible words were said as it was going on. But a great example of prep beforehand was the kit that was in that studio was set up, and we had, I think, 3...
Professional studio.
Yep. And we had three tracks left to record, and we came in one day, and the kit had been swapped out with this Neil Peart looking...
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's huge.
There were like rototoms. There were like...
There was a lot of
4
drums.
mount toms. There were like 2 floor toms. Like just this monstrosity.
And I'm not a big setup type of guy.
No, you're not. You're the less is more, and I like that.
Yeah.
Nothing was really tuned, and we didn't know this until after the fact. So we had to go in an EQ and basically tune these drums in post. 2 out of 10, probably one of the worst experiences of my life, having to tune drums like that in post, because we have to just tune it and render it and tune it and render it, because we had to keep layering it and layering it and layering it. You want to weigh in on that, Will? So what prep was not taken?
That the drums didn't sound good from the start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the thing.
I don't know if that was the example you were thinking of, but
that's
the
exactly
one that I always
what
think
I
of
was
that.
thinking about. And I didn't notice it at the time, because through the headphones,
Yeah.
it sounded fine. And
Well, we heard them dry and they were somewhat okay. And I think it was anytime we wanted to affect them, then it just brought it out more.
Right. It
That's-
had a
yeah.
weird overtone or something
Which
something about
we
it.
had to get out, and that was not fun.
And that's the thing with, especially with drums are very, let's be honest, they're one of the most difficult things to record because there's a lot of them and there's
Yeah.
a lot of microphones.
1,000 pieces, yeah.
But it's similar to like, would you record a guitar part and not tune?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
No, I mean, that's always tune beforehand. You tune in between takes just to make sure you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it would be the equivalent of, putting on a really fresh set of strings and they're still stretching going out of tune.
Yeah.
That's not good. Because then we had to do so much more work in the long run.
Yep.
Like months.
And sometimes it's not even fixable a lot of the times. And
Yeah. There were some parts we had to cover up.
Right.
Or we had to re-record.
Yep.
Or
And
whichever.
yeah, it's a lot easier to fix it beforehand than trying to do it post. So if you're playing whatever it is and something doesn't sound right to you with your ears, try and address it and fix it now
Yes.
before you hit record because you're going to have a heck of a time or it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And it's just a wasted track.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great example of it because
That's
that
the number
was
one I think of.
that was a nightmare. And
To say the least, yeah.
we weren't there anymore and those drums weren't there. We couldn't redo it in that setting.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, kudos to you working your magic on the
Oh,
on the
you did
keyboard.
just as much as I did.
But yeah, we
know?
would take turns.
Yeah,
person at the computer.
Yeah, I remember like it would be one of us would be like, "Oh, I got to take a bathroom break. You take over." All right, and we'll go and we're in the bathroom and you hear someone in your studio time, fucking damn it, cuz we're just so angry.
Losing it. Yeah.
But if we looked at a good side of prep, I would look at and the one that was seriously done with one microphone. Because that's the one thing. It's how can you do this with one microphone using a pro studio and a home studio or sending files back and forth between whoever. The studio series one we did of the Smashing Pumpkins 1979, that was all done with essentially one microphone.
Yep.
So if we broke this guy down, I started with a click track, which I actually render to a track. So then when I send it to Will, he can play along to it and then eventually remove it and we can take it out so you can have more human time in there.
Right.
I started where I played guitar to the click track. Then I put a bass track on top of it. I do my vocals last, so guitar was a line in. Actually, did I do 2 guitar tracks on that? I might have done 2 guitar tracks.
Probably.
Right, panned them, and I always play both, never just copy and paste it and then pan, because the differences in between the strumming and tracks, that's what gives you your stereo feel. If you're just duplicating a track and panning, it's just going to sound like it's centered and just louder. So I would do 2 guitar tracks. I did a bass part. I sent it over to Will. He did the cajon, a couple tracks the cabasa. He did the shaker. Did you have the rain stick in that too? I feel like the rain stick might have been in that.
Or that might have been for fantasy.
That might have been fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was percussion.
That's true.
Galore.
True, yes. So yeah, when I wrote drum break and you were like, "What do you want for the drum break?" I was like, just whatever you want." And oh boy, did I get it. So Will records all that. Essentially, each one of those tracks done individually with one microphone, sends it back to me. Now I have 10 tracks plus of strings and percussion, and now I do my vocal part, which is one microphone. So I'm doing my lead vocal, I do one mic. I do the harmony vocal, which is one mic. So you essentially could do a recording of that size with all one microphone.
Yes, you definitely can.
And then once you put the EQ on it, you can make things sound a little more ballsy, a little softer. You put reverb on to make it sound like you're in a nice space or a nice size room or a smaller size room. You can really make some. I mean, honestly, it's movie magic at that point.
Sky's the limit. I mean, with the plugins that they have now, like you can get like the sound and the dimensions for recording Abbey Road Studios or whatever, or all these famous studios,
all that room size kind of stuff.
Yeah, they have their exact same room dimensions,
ceiling heights, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean you can get all that. I mean we don't because those plugins are expensive.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I know Studio One has a room size thing. I don't mess with it too much because to me it's
crazy what they have.
It's very over the top at that point. But But some people love that. Another example of a one microphone recording that I'd piecemealed together like you would not believe. I did that cover of Donny Hathaway's "This Christmas" for this Christmas that just happened.
Past Christmas.
Past
now.
Christmas.
Yeah.
I wanted to do all of the percussion on baking supplies. Some of it worked, some of it did not. Like I wanted to do a kick drum on a very big, deep mixing bowl. It sounded like poop. So I did a little studio magic where the kick drum that you hear in that is just a MIDI kick drum. And I literally played it. I quantized it to line it up. I backed it up a little bit, so now it's behind the beat just a smidge, so it's not pushing it. And it sounds like a real drum.
It's amazing.
The bongos I did, in fact, play on mixing bowls. That was real. The snare one was the cookie tin, the lid of a cookie tin with wax paper behind it. That was my snare sound.
Yeah.
Again, all of it was one microphone. All of it was layered. None of it was played with anyone else. It was just me doing every track and layering. So that's the number one thing is, I think,
experimentation.
Experimenting is a huge part because there's always a way to get around what you don't have. But that idea of just layering it and doing all your parts individually, that's huge. You don't need 1,000 microphones to do something. You don't have to have a whole kit mic. There's always a way around it. So I was going to say, if we were to sum this guy up, like William, all of your big pieces that you presented and put down on the table, you pulled it out and slapped it on the table real good.
Like usual, yeah.
What's your little recap of this guy? Because you always have a wonderful way of
ruining this podcast.
Spinning a yarn. No, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question, and
I think a big part of us doing this is to show that it can be done because we had to do it.
We're living proof.
We still do it.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing in what we do is top of the line equipment wise. I mean, we don't have the money for that. I mean, let's be honest.
Christ.
But it comes down to our preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Trust your ears. Just trust your ears. I mean, I get caught up in it. I mean, I'm on YouTube, whatever. I'm thinking that, I found this new thing, or let's redesign the room.
That was you and I every week when we were trying to do it. Like when we started doing a lot of recordings, and we were just this technique, that technique, this technique, and that's all we did. And we got so far away from just like the recording.
Yeah, we were so in our head, we weren't living in the moment.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this long enough, you'd think we'd trust ourselves, but we also are perfectionists.
We're hard on ourselves. It is such a curse.
But trust your ears. I mean, if it sounds good, it sounds good. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then fix the problem before you carry on. And experimentation is a lot of it, like we said.
Huge part, yeah.
I mean, try something out. Listen back to it. I mean, you're playing on cookware.
It was cookware.
I mean, like, and it sounded fantastic. So
it worked.
And with one microphone, you can do anything. And I don't know what instrument Buster plays, but
maybe multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure.
And for drums, I mean, think about it. Back in the day, drums were really recorded with one or two microphones for years because that's all they had available.
They didn't have, the most you could record was 8 tracks.
Exactly.
For a long time.
So there's plenty of stuff on YouTube about how to record drums with one microphone. So it's something to really check out because placement's everything, and it's also experimentation.
Yeah.
Everybody's room's different. Move it around, see what sounds better. I mean, and we got really crafty with the studio stuff, and
we had to.
We
didn't have a choice.
Yeah, the acoustic paneling and everything is really, really expensive, but there's a lot of with basic materials from Home Depot. Shout out to Home Depot. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, God, we live there
You can
now.
make professional studio panels with some cheap pieces of pine, insulation, and strap some fabric around it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the other thing is I think a lot of people get confused with soundproofing and isolation.
Yes.
It's isolation is like you're trying to not hear the drums outside or upstairs. Like that's expensive, extremely hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
But soundproofing with the acoustic panels, not going to really do much with the sound per se going out, but it'll help kind of tune the room.
Yeah.
just throw some blankets, moving blankets up, or make those panels and just move them around. And there's so much content online.
Yeah, I was going to say, now that everyone's home, there was a gentleman I follow. He does guitar playing, bass playing, and he does voice acting and voice work. And he has a larger closet at home. He turned it into a vocal booth.
It's
and
smart.
a recording booth where he lined it with egg crate foam. I don't know where he got it from because you can get that decently cheap. If you get real recording brand kind, you're going to spend an arm and a leg.
Yeah, a fortune.
And he made a cool little booth, and it's that's so crafty. And I think he spent like $50 on the whole thing.
Try it out.
And it's little things like that, and I think that's why people are so worried about failing at home with home recordings, because it doesn't look aesthetically as pretty as the big studios you see in the movies or that you see the big studios online.
You also need a big budget.
Yeah. Look at Wolfpack, for God's sake. Where did they
Best
record?
example. In somebody's basement.
It was a basement
Mom's
or a
basement.
living room.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can talk about the lowest budget setup, but those guys made some incredible recordings.
That's a lot of their albums are all that.
Yeah.
But they're great players.
Mm-hmm.
The preparation was
Always.
on, and
They might act like goofballs, but they 1,000% know what they're doing.
and they know,
all
and
the time.
they know what they want to hear, and what sounds good to them, and that works for them. And look at them now,
Yeah.
huge.
I think what you said is the perfect wrapping up point to keep in mind for anyone doing at-home recording, whether you have 1,000 microphones, one microphone, Audacity, or a really good recording
Pro
program.
Tools, yeah.
Yeah, Pro Tools. If it sounds good, it sounds good. That's the number
That's
one
it.
rule. That's what it is. Even if it works against, well, you don't have this EQ like that. You don't have this reverb on this. If it sounds good, it sounds good. You got to trust your ears. That's
If
the
it ain't
number
broke,
one thing.
Don't fix it.
That's truly, truly what it is. We've lived by that motto. That will be on my tombstone.
Yeah.
Even though at that point I will essentially be broken and unfixed. But that's fine. But I think that was an awesome question, and it was kind of nice for us to revisit, because this was a little different than the podcast we did about how to record at home. This was more so a very comprehensive breakdown of what if you don't have a lot of options and you have it's less is more. How do you make it work? This was a good one, man.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I hope Buster, he can. I hope this is helpful for you and exciting. I hope you're excited as we are about it, because you can do it. I mean, it's so easy to do.
Dude, I was going to say, send us some recordings if once you get going, if you are or already are recording at home.
Feel free to reach out.
We'll
help
stuff,
out,
man.
whatever you need. I mean, it's that's the beauty of technology now, is you can make
so
a
easy.
great sounding album in your living room with no pants on.
Yeah.
Like you normally do.
Yeah. Oh, all the time. Well,
Yeah.
I feel the pants, it's too much just deadening. You lose a lot of resonance.
Yeah, you have big pants.
Yeah, it's a lot of pants.
Yeah.
It's like the big like MC Hammer.
And the big feets.
The big feets, the big wolf feets get in the
Yeah.
way too. But I would just like to say, as we do every week, thank you guys so much for listening. Please write in some questions to us at charleslaurita.com/contact. If we pick your question for the week, if it's something that's really cool that we could really discuss in a long format like this, we will send yo ass a shirt.
Yes, we will.
I guess more so your torso. We'll send your torso a shirt.
Yeah, not your ass.
No, that would be pants.
That would be pants.
That is. I'm
Right.
really having a lot of problems
I'm
today.
waiting for Siri to correct us.
Probably that.
Yeah, she's listening.
Bitch. But this has been really, really cool. I'm happy we got to get back and do
Me
another one
too.
of these for the new year, and we're going to be doing a lot more soon. So thank you guys so much again for watching. If you would like to check out all the other content we have, please listen to us and watch us on YouTube as well as charleslaurita.com. We have a link on there to our Patreon if you would like to be a patron, support us, and get your name in the credits of anything that we do that we use your contributions for. And I think just to wrap this guy up like we always do, my name is Charles Laurita.
And I'm Will Sarver.
And we will catch you guys next time.
Later.
See ya.